Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast. This is episode 326, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man, your host, and this time we're recording on Wednesday the 22nd in the late evening, because we've got a special guest, but you'll still be watching it on Friday the 24th. Or later, and we've got a ton of stuff to go through, so let me introduce who's going through it with me. Mr. Jason Winter, how are you, sir?
This means we are guaranteed to have some kind of huge news on Thursday.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just the way it works. Even when we record on Thursday, all of a sudden somebody decides that 8 p.m. Eastern is a great time to drop news. Fantastic. Yeah. Also on the line, our special guest, teased him for a couple of weeks now, Mr. Zach Sharps. What's up, sir?
Hey, not a whole lot. Just hanging in there after a hectic day, but, I'm here to discuss some news.
Yes, yeah, you still got the voice going. You still got no legs. I mean, so the more things change, the more they stay the same, it would seem.
Pretty much.
You have a cat, huh? We can see a little.
I do. Yes. I wasn't sure if you guys saw Blue or not on any of the podcasts I was on, because Moses, who you guys have seen,
we've seen
probably
Moses.
Periodically. Yeah, Moses passed away last year. So then I got Blue, and Blue's just wandering around right now. She might come join us at some point. We'll just have to wait to find out. So she might get curious.
She's always welcome, always welcome. And so are you, sir. Good to have you back. Happy New Year. Hope you had a nice holiday.
I did. Glad to be back.
We'll be seeing Zach, not as often as we used to. He's still got his other stuff, but we will see him a little more often than we have lately. We'll be cycling him in and out, trying to do it like once a month type deal. And Troy Blackburn will be back as well, so can finally start giving Jason and Q a day off here and there.
About time. Worked me so damn hard. Man.
With that said, let's get started with the news. All right, we teased this last week when we did our 2020 predictions. Before we get into any real news, we did want to get Zach's opinion on some of the predictions for 2020 that Jason made. So we have Jason's locked in the article. In the cast, Q and I gave ours, and Jason has those locked in so that the article at the beginning of next year or at the end of this year can, of course, call us out like the article did this year, and I lost. But now we'll add Zach to it as well. He used to do these, hasn't done them in a few years, so we're a little rusty. But here, real quick, Zach, we'll go through all 5. You tell us whether you agree or not, and maybe a little bit on why you view it that way. Jason, you and I will kind of sit this one back because we gave all of our reasons for or against last week. So, Zach, first up was Rocket League will go free to play. You've read Jason's kind of debate about it. Maybe you watched the cast and saw our opinions. Where do you land on this prediction?
I'm going to say no, because as a longtime Rocket League player, champion 2 and 2s, as well as over 1,150 hours now, I do not think at all that the sales have slowed down enough on the base copies in order to warrant them going free to play. I think they're still bringing in some change there. And also due to the fact that Epic recently bought Psyonix, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
I don't think that there's going to be any big shift for free-to-play until they see that the base sales are dying down enough to warrant a new flood of players. So I don't think that they've done the financial projections to warrant that just yet. But I would be happy to be wrong, because I've been calling for it for many years, because you always see it for like $5 to $10. It's like, why don't just make it free to play, especially since the item mall is great for it. So we'll wait and see, but I'm saying no.
And that was Jason's kind of main argument on that one, was that the box sale isn't really all that much of a price anymore. They certainly don't need to do it. That was not his reason. It was, hey, this will just add even more eyeballs to a game that's already got free-to-play stuff in it. Jason, did anybody agree with you on this one?
Yeah, Q did.
Q did?
And you two have disagreed.
So Zach and I took the disagree. Number 2, Zach. First Perfect World ARPG to actually go to open beta. Not full launch, open beta. Will it be Magic Legends or Torchlight Frontiers? Jason leaning towards the Magic Legends side of this one.
I have to disagree with that as well, just because I think from what I've seen gameplay-wise and development-wise, I think Torchlight Frontiers is further along, and I think that they have a far clearer path to open beta. We just now recently saw Magic Legends gameplay, and honestly, the reaction to it was not that great. So we kind of need to see what the rumblings are in terms of the aftermath and whether or not they decide to change direction like another particular game, New World, and see sort of what happens in that respect first. So I think that due to the fact that Torchlight Frontiers is already sort of close, I think we're going to see that hit open beta first.
It's funny, Jason, because there's a lot of the same logic in that argument with just the little addition of one other piece of thought that makes me... I agreed with you on this one, and I thought Magic Legends would come first. Zach, there isn't a single thing you said that I disagree with. None. The only caveat that I add to it that makes me think Magic Legends is going to hit open beta first is because I don't know if Torchlight Frontiers even makes an open beta at this point. I am really concerned about that project, the way it came out in its first initial phases, the way it got yanked back under the shelf for some massive revamp that they wouldn't tell us what they were planning to do in the revamps. So I'm a bit concerned about the project itself. So
interesting.
Let's go to number 3. Jason, you want to read this one out?
Yes, we will get to play on officially sanctioned City of Heroes servers. And by official, I kind of just mean something that NCSoft will come to an agreement. Not that they're going to necessarily like own it or anything, but they'll come to an agreement with whatever operator, whatever server admin out there, and say, okay, you can do this, you can run it, you have our blessing, go crazy. I believe we will do that sometime in 2020.
Yeah, the kind of caveat we put on this one, Zach, was maybe not NCSoft publishing, maybe not them even having a license deal, but the way we looked at it was the trigger point being, if you're a City of Heroes player playing on this particular server, something you don't have to worry about is waking up tomorrow morning and not being able to play all of a sudden. There's no cease and desist, stuff like that.
You know, I think that it's possible. So I'm gonna go like 90% yes on this one. That
no, gotta be total. All right, so we'll put it down as yes.
All right, whatever. I'm gonna go all in though on yes. I think it's time that NCSoft will finally stop being douchebags and allow something City of Heroes to exist, and within this capacity. So yeah, I'm gonna say I'm with you.
Jason, I went no on that one.
You and Q both did, kind of disagreeing on the whole officialness of it. I'll have to maybe rewatch and figure it out.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be like, hey, we have these servers out here. I think it's like, oh, well.
So I think you agreed with kind of the settlement.
My argument was more that I don't think we'll have anything official. I think the negotiations that are going on will just continue to go on in perpetuity. Like, they will never... NCSoft won't come after you, and if as long as we're still negotiating, if they needed to legally defend their IP somewhere down the line... They would not have this to look back on and say, you didn't defend it here. Yeah, we did. We were negotiating with them.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have like an announcement or anything.
That's fair.
Last one, Jason, go ahead.
Second to last one.
Were there 6? I thought there were 5.
We've only done 3.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I skipped that one. Sorry. Go ahead.
No Guild Wars 2 expansion or any other major new announcement from ArenaNet.
Yep, I agree. I see Guild Wars 2 slowing down drastically, at least in certain terms of news cycle. Their last expansion was all right, but I don't really think that it did well enough to warrant a new one really soon, if ever. So I don't know. I feel like Guild Wars 2 has kind of been played out, and I hope that they take all the feedback that it definitely had over the years and maybe put it towards a new game that improves upon what was definitely a solid game overall.
Last one.
They're working on something.
They are.
They are working on something. We do have to. We need to take this opportunity, Jason, make a slight correction to something that we said on the cast last week in regards to NCSoft's new project. Do you want to give that correction?
Yeah. We talked about how we had a bit of a news article that came sourced from Reddit, and they said that the Jennifer Sherrill, who was supposedly the former Guild Wars 2 lead designer, is now working as lead designer on their new project. We got a correction from that from Jennifer Sherrill herself, who said, I never worked on Guild Wars 2. So there you go. They didn't take anyone off Guild Wars 2, but she is still the lead designer of their new unannounced project.
Which probably begs the question, you guys, it's Reddit, you didn't check. Yeah, there is nothing on the internet that we could possibly have found that would have indicated she was not on Guild Wars 2. you'd have to even read into her on the Guild Wars 2 wiki page, and you'd have to look at the lack of certain words to infer that she wasn't on Guild Wars 2, because it doesn't specifically say Guild Wars 2 in some of those sentences, but it is the Guild Wars 2 official wiki, so yeah, correction, and thanks for giving us the statement there. Last one, Zach, the 2020 loot box odds deadline will come and go without any action. This is more in reference to the ESA saying that by the end of 2020, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft would require publishers to disclose the odds for any randomized virtual item prize in any games that were going to be on those platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, just because I don't think that government agencies really care about this type of thing. I agree with Jason that it's just more of a PR move. Until we actually see any sort of like hard legislation passed through Congress or any other government agency, I don't see it, or a government body like the Senate, which Senate wouldn't be doing it, it'd go Congress and the Senate. But regardless, I don't think it happened. Like I don't think the government even knows what the internet is half the time, and doesn't even know it exists enough to even care. Yeah, exactly.
For those of you not in the United States, by the way, our legislative branch has two bodies, and Zach is kind of referring to both of them there, our Senate and our House. Both of them combined make up what is called Congress. Just so clarification for those of you overseas. Jason, how do we finish there? What did Zach, what is his ratio of agree to disagree there?
Zach agreed on 3 and disagreed on 2.
We have a lot of variety.
It's going to be interesting to count up at the end of the year. Now, I just want to mention, though, at the very end of this, I made another note that says, Mike thinks closed beta for Lost Ark in 2020. I disagree. Q thinks maybe alpha. So, Zach, I got to ask you, what's your opinion on that? This was before we heard the news that maybe is news or maybe isn't news.
Yeah, the news we did not report on because we cannot validate in any way, shape, or form that Smilegate apparently made some comments, or allegedly made some comments, saying no plans for the Western release anytime soon. Good luck trying to track those actual comments down, though. Everything links back to nothing about Lost Ark, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's in line sort of with what has been sort of murmured, that 2020 will be probably for Japan, and then 2021 will be most likely the Western announcement, with it releasing open beta sometime at the quarter 3, quarter 4 at the earliest. So I just think at this point they'd be really dumb not to release it over here. But at the same time, I also think they're extremely stupid for not releasing it sooner. Literally, as soon as the Diablo Immortal announcement happened, I would have been on Twitter as Smilegate. Lost Ark's coming to the West, boys. We're going to get it done. That's exactly what they would have made a ton of money off of, and they've just been delaying that truckload of cash for a really long time.
So no access West in 2020?
Nope.
So let me ask you this as a fan. I know we've talked about this on the show before. We've talked about it privately on Twitter. You are a big fan of Lost Ark. You've played quite a bit of time in the Korean beta tests back in the day, and then still dabbled in it here and there after. You got to high levels. I mean, you love the game. You like a lot of things about it. I saw tweets about dungeon design. I saw tweets about monster design. I saw tweets about different mechanics that you wish you could read more into because they weren't in English at the time.
Yep.
So you are a fan of Lost Ark. You already kind of mentioned it should have come out earlier, right? And we all agree on that. Do you think that now it's a little too late, particularly if it doesn't come in 2020, because presumably we'll have Path of Exile 2. We'll be at or near getting some type of hands-on time with Diablo 4. Now we have Magic Legends entering the ARPG fray. Then you have Torchlight Frontiers. It's kind of like the next year and a half, 2 years is ARPG crowded by some big titles. Whether they're all successful or not, it's a different story, but you can't argue Magic's a big IP, Diablo's a big IP, Path of Exile is a big IP. Does Lost Ark now get buried in what they didn't take advantage of a year ago?
So it definitely won't be as big as it could have been, but I also don't think that Path of Exile 2 is going to really affect the landscape as much as a lot of people do, just because if you played Path of Exile 2 isn't going to do anything revolutionary for you to come back if you didn't like the game. It will have a new story, it will have a lot of new content, but it's just going to be more Path of Exile, which is already a good game. It won't really branch out any further.
And
Torchlight
Grinded Gear
Front-
has said almost exactly
Yeah.
that, Jason, to you in an interview where you asked them, this leans a little more hardcore. Is Path of Exile 2 going to open that up more and try and attract the Diablo crowd? And they basically said, no, we do what we do. Yeah, maybe it's a little on the high end of medium into hardcore, but that's where we're going to stay.
Yep.
Yeah. And then also Diablo 4, I don't see it releasing or even us having a lot of hands-on time like a closed beta in 2021. I think that's further out, and I think that's evident by the fact that the gameplay that they did show was very rough. I mean, the spell effects and everything was awful. And then also on top of that, they have PvP in it. I don't think that's going to make it to the final client because I believe they were even trying that with Diablo 3.
Oh, yeah, for a long time they were.
Yeah, and it didn't work out because Blizzard is known for not being able to balance things that well. And I don't think that with an ARPG that's supposed to have a lot more evolutionary skills, that they're going to be able to learn how to balance that in time for release. So I think that will either be scrapped or heavily reduced in terms of scope. And we won't be able to even play it closed beta wise to like 2022. So I think just in general, in Magic Legends, Torchlight Frontiers, I think there's going to be small enough and not as well thought out as Lost Ark, because what Lost Ark is, and I still say it, everything that I see from all the other ARPGs, minus Path of Exile, because Path of Exile is a great game, it's one of the best, if not the best, ARPGs I've ever played. Content-wise, there's so much of it. The depth is there. The variety of content is there. It just needs a release in the West already. And it kills me that it hasn't.
All right, there's your predictions. Sure to go wrong from everybody on the panel. Sticking with the topic of loot boxes, let's have a... Oh, mosquito, get out of here.
Let's have a mosquito.
Let's have a mosquito. Speaking of the topic of loot boxes, let's talk a little bit about that in a rapid-fire round, and we'll start it off with loot box talk. So the mental health director of England's National Health Services, Claire Murdoch, had a little something to say about the topic of loot boxes, Jason.
Yeah, basically she said that they are, quote, setting kids up for addiction by teaching them to gamble on the content of these loot boxes. So basically what we've been hearing from a lot of the people, they teach loot boxes. Under the radar gambling is the word she used. So,
kind of,
I mean, can't really disagree.
Yeah, kind of, the argument, and we've heard it before, the whole argument of, yeah, okay, this might not be gambling in and of itself by strict legal definitions as far as prizing out cash and cash equivalents, stuff like that. We all kind of feel, yeah, it's gambling, but okay, fine, there is an argument to be made as far as legal definitions may or may not go right now. Those definitions could change, of course. But this is somebody that's taking the other side that we have heard before where, yeah, okay, fine, then maybe this isn't gambling in and of itself. But it does instill the feeling, the endorphin rush, the disappointment, all of the earmarks of gambling into children as a learned behavior almost. Like you don't smoke out of the womb. That's a learned behavior. This kind
Maybe you didn't.
Yeah, I did. So this is what the world's like. But yeah, so a more learned behavior, setting them up for future bad addiction type behavior, which is kind of this is one of the more high profile comments that I think I've seen, Jason. We saw a bunch from different European almost legislative bodies, right? A comment here or there from gaming authorities and things like that. This is the mental health director of the NHS. This is kind of a big deal for this person to be saying this type of thing. Does it lead to legislation? Probably not. But it is kind of something that you should stand up and say, ooh, that's a pretty high-level person saying that it could lead to this. I wonder if there's anything to that. Let me do some research.
I feel like we've heard from similarly high-ranking people in both the British and the American government that have said, loot boxes are addicting or bad for children, whatever. I didn't give this like super duper amazing, like, oh my god, this is the biggest thing that's happened or anything. I didn't give it that kind of importance, if only because also the game companies just came back and said, yeah, we're doing it, whatever. The fact they were able to kind of brush her off and say, we're working on it, don't worry. So it's something for her to come out and say this, but it's all starting to kind of blend together until we get like real action done on it. I just kind of like, okay, yeah, I wrote it up, it's there. We'll refer to it later.
Zach, I also feel like this is a situation, too, though, where no matter how high-profile a person is that says something like this, we don't even need those anymore. Like, we don't need a high-profile person for any reasonably thinking person to go, this is manipulative. This is companies taking advantage of situations and the lack of legislation, and something should be done about it. I don't think we need high-profile people making statements like this anymore to be pushing for something to change.
No, we really just need action, and I don't think we're going to really get it anytime soon, even though we all know at this point that it is something that preys upon people with addictive personalities, people with gambling addiction personalities. And for younger kids, it teaches them that gambling all your money away is completely okay as long as you get a brand new skin from it. So it's something that does need to be corrected for, but I just don't think that it's going to, because it makes the industry way too much money at this point. So, and they've already tried to appease different legislative bodies just by bringing forth the odds of you winning within the game in terms of like higher rarity stuff, like, oh, you get 0.1% chance or something like that. So they're disclosing a bit more, but they're also not really pulling back that much either. I mean, the major pullback that we saw was from Battlefront 2, but that was also just because the game was extremely limited because of its loot box system, and it also just wasn't that great of a game at launch anyhow until they revamped the entire progression system. So yeah, I don't see it really happening anytime soon. And I don't think any more big people really need to come out because we've already kind of proved that it's a problem.
Yeah, and Yuki, the UK's gaming trade body, Jason, has also put forth, and I love when this happens. I think Jim Sterling did a video about it on either this week or the previous week, too. Their new Play program, where it's like raising awareness on parental controls and what your children are doing. How about just stop putting manipulative mechanics in your game? And then trying to say, well, it's the parents' responsibility to. Yeah, I agree. The
to
parents,
go on YouTube and find a video about this stuff. Yeah,
right? Yeah. They likened it in. Well, you wouldn't send your kid out on a bike without training wheels and a helmet. That is not even remotely the same.
Yeah.
Not at all. All right, moving on. Hey, did either of you play Guardians of Ember? That kind of like, what was that? That like MMO or a MOBA MMO type thing?
No, I don't think so.
Great. Yeah, that's nobody else did either. It's closing down. GameForge sent out a letter this week saying that the publishing partnership between GameForge and RuneWaker is coming to an end, so Guardians of Ember will close on February 14th. Don't expect a refund, Zach. I know you've spent a ton of money. They're shutting down the shop.
Thousands of dollars, Mike. Thousands of dollars.
They're shutting down the shop, but you can still purchase items with any leftover currency. That's damn mosquito still here. With any leftover currency you have. That kind of screams to me, we ain't giving any of this cash back.
Yeah, you're not getting your money back. I mean, for all you two people who probably played the game, so sucks to be you.
I can't remember, Jason. Did I
although
do
it's
the first
people
look on
even
this
been
one?
able
You did.
I'm pretty sure I did.
I clicked on the Guardians of Ember tag in our article to see all the articles we've done on it. Yeah, you did do a first look in January of 2019. The last article.
Oh, and by the way, that was the second time it opened. Because it used to be Incel Games. Then RuneWaker took it, and that's when I did the first look. So this is technically the second time this game has closed down.
I wrote about the Incel thing in November of 2016. Every article after that is by Q, so that's why this is completely off my radar. The last article we had at all was that it entered open beta in March of last year. So that's how big of a news thing it's been. So,
all right,
yeah.
so for both of you that play, it's closing. There you go.
Sorry.
We did talk a little bit earlier about Magic Legends, and as the cast was going on, last week while we were recording, I did mention this piece. We did cover it after the cast on the site, so you can read the article and watch the video from Game Informer. But we did get a chance to see executive producer Steven Ricosa basically run down 75 questions in a little over 7 minutes on Magic Legends. Now, setting aside the more goofy questions that were there for entertainment value, it was a good video, by the way. They did a really nice job with it, I thought. Setting aside the more goofy ones, there's probably a good 25 to 35 actual questions you probably had about Magic Legends in there. Is it going to be free to play? Yes, we already know that. They're going to put PvP in. They're going to take it seriously. As seriously as, whatever, quotes. They'll take it seriously. And, yeah, some information about 12 cards in the deck we already knew. So a lot we knew. But, Jason, did you get anything new from this video or that you thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I like what they're talking about right there. Because I know you're just still ho-hum about this title.
I mean, a couple of the mechanics we talked about, but talking about poison, which in Magic, poison is a thing where if you damage your opponent, you put a poison counter on them. And then when they get to 10... you win the game. So regardless of how many life points or whatever they have, I think it's 10, maybe it's 20, I don't remember. I think it's 10. So regardless of how many life points they have in the game, that's you'll win if you get like 10 poison counters on them. So that's kind of interesting. They said that's actually in the game somehow. So kind of neat to see that there. And also they say there's no death penalty, which is something that the only other ARPG I played extensively is Path of Exile, and I hate how you lose XP when you die. It always bothers me a little bit, so nice to see that won't actually be in there.
Yeah, I thought it was funny, too, that they said that poison actually transcribes into the game quite easily.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, quite easily. And I'm like, well,
I guess in PvP it would make sense, but it seems maybe not a PvE. I don't know.
Maybe there's certain mobs that poison you, and once you hit a certain poison stack, you instantly die.
It could be that. It could be more against you than for you, so yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be nice if I could put 10 poison counters on a huge boss. Now it's dead now. Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Easy.
Excuse me. So, Zach, being an ARPG fan, you had mentioned earlier, the feedback on the release of information for this game was probably a little less overwhelming than they had hoped that it would be. I thought, okay, it ups I was at about a 7 on the hype meter for this one. I'm watching it. I'm going to play it and check it out, but I'm not, when's it coming out, hyped. The footage maybe bumped me at most from a 7 to a 7.5. It didn't do a ton for me, just maybe got me a little bit more interested in some of the things that I might see down the road, not necessarily something that I saw in the video. Where are you on the whole Magic Legends game entirely? Is it anything you're remotely interested in being an ARPG fan?
I mean, kind of, just because it's Magic, but I also was kind of expecting an MMORPG, not an ARPG for the longest time.
A lot of people were, and Jason has already told you guys last week, stop doing that. Don't expect MMORPGs.
Twice over the weekend, and I get 3 people on my streams. 2 people came into my stream during the cast and said, I watched the cast and I agree with you, Jason. I had 2 people come in on that and said, yeah, don't get hyped.
That's great. Your mom and your sister follow you on Twitch.
No.
That's fantastic. Anyway, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I just I haven't seen too much of it to really hype me up for it, because I really expect now with ARPGs a very deep mechanics or a lot of interesting content, and the gameplay they showed wasn't really that interesting to me. And I also I want to see more how they handle the card system, because I also don't want RNG thrown into my rotation either.
Oh, it is. It 100% is.
Yeah, so I wonder how greatly influencing that's going to be to how well your character performs. So,
how well can they do with their core stable abilities rather than the summons or the spells thrown into the mix.
Exactly. So that's going to greatly influence sort of how I feel about the game, and then I wish that they would have done the cards in a different way. I think that if you did an MMORPG, it's much easier to do a card system than an ARPG, but I guess we'll see how it's fully implemented and how it plays once we can get our hands on it.
True. Last thing in the rapid news round before we move on to some other bigger news. We thought, the Riot Games thing was settled for $10 million. getting paid out to a lot of employees and some things changing behind the scenes. But apparently, that's not quite as wrapped up as it might have been previously presented with this settlement. So, and this is something we said on the cast, Jason, when we talked about it. The $10 million price tag itself was nothing. We all thought that the dollar amount was garbage, and Riot, they wouldn't even recognize that as a single line on their P&L. But we thought the good part of the settlement was the headline. The headline was a nice headline to have to try and make examples and start to cause change or cause some worry in some other companies that might not have been doing things as exactly by the book as they should have been. Turns out, though, that California might be more interested in the actual dollar amount than the headlines. What's going on here?
Yeah, apparently California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing said that instead of $10 million, the claims could be worth as much as $400 million. Now Riot would notice that, I think.
Yeah, a 40% multiplier. Yeah, I mean, Zach, you're the financial guy. You do a lot of finance work. I'm pretty sure that companies recognize a big difference between 10 million and 400 million, right? That's
just a little bit.
I imagine there'd be layoffs to compensate for that amount of damages to their P&L.
And I imagine you would be right, which would be catastrophically bad press. Could you imagine?
But
my
people
God,
are going to keep playing League regardless, Mike.
Riot has to shell out $400 million for this settlement, and
people
then they announce layoffs because of, oh my God, the PR nightmare. Now that doesn't mean that this is actually going to increase to 400 million, though, Jason. This was kind of their estimation. Of course, Riot is saying that is grossly inflated, and so of course that's going to come back to a judge, I would imagine, at some point.
Yeah, and then the California Division of Labor Standards Enforcement chipped in that the light penalty they got, quote, would release Riot from liability for certain state labor code violations. So they want a little more, at least in terms of, like you said, changing the culture and having a real effect on that sort of thing.
Wow.
You gotta hope it changes the culture, but I mean, being in corporate environments for a lot of my life, I don't know. You just hope, but at the same time, unless the dollar amount ends up being closer to the 400 million, I don't think they will change too much.
I mean, as long as the top management's still around. Yeah,
exactly.
That's the point.
Yep.
Got to change from the top.
Exactly. And I was just about to add that there. I've been a corporate guy my entire life, since I was like 16 years old. And that's exactly what it is. If you don't change the players at the top, it doesn't matter what happens at mid-level on down. It just doesn't. All right. So speaking of changes, wow, 2 nice segues in a row. We're doing well here, which means we will never segue into our third and final topic nicely. It'll just be a catastrophic nightmare getting there. But Daybreak is splitting itself into 3 little studios. And that doesn't mean Daybreak is going away. They're kind of pulling, Zach, the high-res here, right? High-res offshot into a couple small companies, put different projects in those different companies, and then gave them some relative autonomy as far as developing their individual games and projects, hiring their staff, all of that type of stuff. We kind of knew this was coming, though. We reported last year Daybreak was picking up all kinds of different trademarks, right? We saw Darkpaw Games, we saw Rogue Planet Games, and kind of guessed that this might be where they were headed because you could kind of see the names matching with a couple of their IPs, at least in an ethereal concept, and that's exactly what's going on. Now, this is called their Franchise First initiative, so whatever. That kind of, I guess they're trying to give the impression that the games and the franchises come first. These companies are going to be responsible for moving those franchises forward. How it's going to be divided up, Darkpaw Games will be the EverQuest studio. EQ executive producer Holly Longdale, a very well-known name in the EverQuest universe by all the players there, will head that studio up. I don't think there's any surprises there. One thing they did put in the press release that I thought was, what are they trying to reference here? They did say that not only are they going to be responsible for EverQuest, Zach, but they're going to be responsible for the next innovations of EverQuest. Whether that means like content updates for what's there and the continued expansions, a potential new project down the pipeline, having the EverQuest name or the IP involved, who knows? They were a bit vague about it, I think.
Yeah, when it comes to Daybreak, I'm kind of under the impression that they're just trying to figure out what their main profit drivers are and what they want to continue doing in the future. Not necessarily, hey, we're trying to do this big structural change to better and free up our developers and give them more autonomy. I think that will be a good piece of it if they do in fact allow for that, especially the folks who work on DC Universe Online, the folks who work on EverQuest. But I think PlanetSide, I mean, I don't know about that, and to say the least. And some of their stuff under their umbrella, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see, but I think with a next generation EverQuest would be far out in the future.
Oh,
next generation any game from Daybreak would be far out in the future. So, and would it even come to open beta at any point? Would it ever release? I mean, I just don't, ever since EverQuest Next, I don't have any faith in Daybreak releasing a next generation anything. I think that their main driver from here on out is going to be their already established IPs and the EverQuest, as well as DC Universe Online, and trying to improve upon those successes.
Yeah, and they did say in the press release, to your point there, that this will give the each company the ability to squarely focus on their games, and it even did mention the hiring of and recruiting of talent for those specific games rather than as one conglomerate. But again, to what you just said, saying it in a press release and doing it, two very different things. We'll have to keep our eyes on it. Jason, for your side of the equation, Rogue Planet Games is going to take over all things PlanetSide, including what they listed as the next genre-defining experience. Again, a vague phrase that kind of implies maybe we're working on something, but not committal enough to say we're working on something for PlanetSide 2, we're working on something new, we're working on a new game. Just kind of, we're working on something. They pulled the same thing on this side.
See, that's the thing, is I think the difference, if you look at the Dark Paw games, like you said, they say they're going to do the next innovation for the franchise. Rogue Planet says it's going to be the next genre-defining experience for fans of shooters. But then Dimensional Inc.
Yeah,
say,
don't spoil that one.
All right. Yeah, I mean, after what happened with PlanetSide Arena, I have a hard time seeing them making at least a spin-off game.
Yeah.
Could they make some sort of actual like PlanetSide 3 in the future? Maybe they could go to a core game and do something like that. But yeah, in terms of a spin-off or whatever, I don't see that really happening for PlanetSide.
Rogue Planet will be led up by executive producer Andy Seitz. The final group here that Jason almost spoiled was Dimensional Inc. They're going to have their CEO in the form of veteran designer Jack Emmerich. They'll be handling DC Universe Online, and here is where they were more specific. This studio will also be working on an upcoming action MMO, which as soon as I saw the terms, I was like, fuck, you're late. Here we go, another ARPG, AMMORPG. Whatever, I will still be watching. They're slated to begin development of that title this year. So, Zach, to your point, we're not going to see this for, at least 2 to 3 years before we even start getting any real information about it at all. And then what happens with it after that, who knows? But that one was pretty direct. They are working or are going to start development work on a title.
Yeah, and I think that's to my point that they're trying to figure out which one of their horses is going to win the race. And if there's any horse that could resurrect Daybreak, it's the DC Universe Online team, in my opinion. Because that game has been very solid over the years. I come back to it usually on a yearly basis, play through all the content, and always toss them, a few bucks here and there, 15 for the sub, and then whatever else I decide to spend. So I think that if any team can do it, it's going to be them, just because DC Universe Online was a very quality game from launch, and then on, it just didn't have a lot of content at launch. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes from them. I'm still cautious because it's Daybreak, so.
I don't know about you, Jason, but if I was being hired by one, I'd be sitting at home next to my phone saying, please be Dimensional Link. Please be Dimensional Link. Please be Dimensional Link. Because it's the one that seems to have the most, longevity, at least at the moment. Will this change things for Daybreak? I don't know. It's been a pretty bad year and a half, 2 years for
3 years,
Daybreak.
4 years, 5 years. Yeah.
Whatever. It's been pretty bad for Daybreak lately. And so, Jason, to your point in the article, I totally agree. I mean, this can't make it worse. Will it make things better? Maybe. We'll keep our eyes out and take a peek.
What we need to do though is we need to screen grab this press release in case they come back in 3 years and say, "What? Jack Ember? No, he never worked for us."
Companies changing it up. That continues with Tencent trying to buy out Funcom. Did you ever think you would hear that sentence? Like Tencent wants to be in everything, but like if you would have thought of companies that they're buying, this would not have been like anywhere near my top 10. Now, they already owned almost a third of the company, and we reported on that a while ago. They own like 29%. But now they're actually seeking to buy it out, Zach, at a 27.3% increase per share over its current value, which is disgusting. That valuation puts it at about $148 million offer. $148 million offer to pick up the rest of this company. What does Funcom make, you may ask? Well, I mean, they got their whole Conan thing going. And not Age of Conan, which is still going, but I'm talking about Conan Exiles. You know, the only real thing that you see making some money for Funcom right now, at least in the public sphere. I think this is the end of Secret World Legends. If Tencent picks this up, there is zero reason for Tencent to want to keep Secret World Legends going. The only thing that's kept it going since it launched, basically, was the community holding its own damn events. And that's really sad to see, because I've got a lot of love for the Secret World franchise. And here's the kicker. Funcom is telling its shareholders, you should take the offer. I would be too. 27.3%, Zach.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I really wish, call me Tencent phobic or China phobic, but someone really needs to ban Tencent from buying up any more companies in the United States. Because at this point, they own, 40 or something % of Epic Games.
But to be fair, though, you got to keep in mind, Funcom is not a United States company.
True.
Funcom is Oslo.
Oslo, that's true. Well, any countries in general, because they're just buying up too much.
Every country.
Every country. Yeah, everyone. For some reason, I thought Funcom was U.S. based, or they had
an
a
office.
major
They had an office in like Charlotte, I think.
Okay, that's probably what I was thinking.
Raleigh, Durham, Raleigh.
Yeah, that's probably why I was thinking that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that Tencent needs to cool it, or someone needs to stop Tencent from buying so much stuff, because they have so much influence now that, I mean, they're in everything.
They are.
Everything. I swear, probably the clothes I'm wearing, they have some influence in it. I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Do they own any of them, Mobom? Do they own Digimals?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not getting...
Because if I get a 27.3% raise, that would be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to wonder, Zach, like, Tencent isn't stupid with their money, right? They get in on things like Riot and Epic Games and Smite or Hi-Res Studios. They get involved in companies where they can think they can make money. Great. That's just good business. Fine. Does it make you kind of wonder, what is Funcom doing that we don't know about? Because if you look at their portfolio, I can't see a huge reason why, and granted, at the end of the day, $148 million, while an insane amount of money, I think, to purchase Funcom at this point, it is relatively nothing when you're talking about buying up a game studio. That is not a ton of cash. It's a lot of money, but it's on the low end of the buying up a studio spectrum. Just ask EA. If you look at their portfolio, you're kind of like, why do you want to own them right now? And why are you willing to pay out over 25% of the share's value to acquire it?
You know, maybe it's an IP play. I don't really know, other than that, why they would do it, unless there's something that Funcom's been working on that we just haven't seen.
They do basically own the rights for Conan. Last year, they picked up the rights for that entire world.
And as much as Secret World is not the biggest thing, it's an interesting IP. So I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe they just want to spread its wings across all their different games at some point. That's the only thing I could really think of, unless Funcom's been hiding something that we just don't know about.
That's what I'm wondering. Are they
Well,
working on something we don't know about?
Yeah, they're working on something we know about, Dune. That's right in the press release that they're working on the open world multiplayer survival game based on Frank Herbert's Dune.
Right, but still, like, okay,
Yeah,
fine. Dune
but-
excites
Sure.
me. Dune excites me as a sci-fi guy. Fine, but Dune isn't like, oh shit, they got a hold of Dune. Buy
Well, yeah,
them.
but
Yeah,
but that's
I mean, that
probably what we would've
excited
thought
me as
about
much
Conan,
as
too.
Conan
So,
Exiles. So
Also, for an interesting note, this news comes out on Robert E. Howard's birthday, so congratulations there. Good timing.
Oh, look at you. Look at
Yeah,
you finding the angles on the news.
The
there.
interesting thing I find, though, too, is like it says on the bottom, management intends to increase the ambition level of the upcoming Dune game pending board approval, with resources being allocated from other initiatives and possible additional financing. So that is at least a part of the deal, is that they're getting more money now to work on Dune.
Oh well, yeah. They're getting more money for everything, and they were really
Well,
open about that. That's why they're telling the shareholders,
That's
go
what
ahead
I-
and sell.
That's what I always thought about Funcom. Like when they got initial round of funding for Conan Exiles, they pushed back the early access, which basically admits that the only reason we do early access is to get money. But now that we have money, we'll push it back. Now it seems like they're saying almost the same thing for Dune. Like, now that we have more money, we're going to add more stuff to it, and we probably won't need to do an early access right away or whatever. So
you gotta wonder what that game looks like though behind the scenes for them to want to, if this is the reason to go and just basically fund Dune and hope that it does well. I don't know. I think their other IPs are more interesting, like having Conan, having Secret World that you could possibly do something with. Anarchy Online would be interesting if they made a next generation version of that. I don't know. We'll have to see.
That's true too. Yeah, I totally forgot about them having the Anarchy IP.
so have most people.
Yeah, it's old enough where it's pretty.
Oh,
Has a lot of dust.
That was
on
not that was an unironic cough there.
That was an unironic cough. Well, it's a good time to be a Funcom stakeholder if you are one. I wouldn't even think twice about it, particularly looking at their trend for the last 5 years in stock prices. And Zach, this is what you do off and on, both personally and professionally. You look at the 5-year trend on this one, 27.3%. Sold, brother. Sold. Sell it right away. Let's finish up with some just news of the funny. So apparently a gentleman decided, yeah, I'm a little bit bored at the airport. And he saw all these TVs. And he thought, I could probably do a little something with these. So he unplugged plugged in his PlayStation 4 to one that was supposed to be displaying the airport's map. Sat down, and there are pictures that show he seems to be playing Apex Legends. Had to reconnect my camera there. I saw I froze. Sorry. Yeah, seems to be playing Apex Legends, Jason, right on airport monitors. Just pulled up a little chair, went ahead and went about his business.
I had a few 2-hour layovers in airports the past couple weeks, and I would have done the same thing if I could have. Just plug in, play a little whatever, Destiny maybe. I don't know. It would have been nice.
Zach, when he did finally get questioned by authorities, and they told him to unplug it, he did ask, in fairness to his teammates, if he could finish his round.
Yeah, I mean, the man's a hero for even attempting this, I think. Because those, quite honestly, as someone who flies pretty often, those monitors are pretty useless, except for the ones that have the delays and stuff on them. But everyone else, everyone just disregards the other ones as if they're not even there. So might as well put them to good use. I think that'd be really cool to have like some sort of a cyber gaming area in some airports pop up because of something like this.
It's a good opportunity. Airports should be thinking about this.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna open a business and sell
There
it
you
to
go.
sell it to Tencent.
There you go.
This did lead me to start thinking, though, Jason, are there other areas of our life where there are just monitors around that we could severely be taking advantage of to have some fun with?
So I don't know if you and I could get into this, but I seem to recall a while back, how the Dallas Cowboys Stadium has that huge monitor in the center, like hanging up?
Yep.
Well, I thought I remember hearing about how some guy played something on it. Maybe it was Fortnite or whatever. Like he was a maintenance guy or something. He actually worked for the stadium. He did it, during off hours or whatever. But I thought there was something about how someone got up and did that. And That, or maybe it's a different ballpark or something. But I have heard of sports ballpark monitors, the big screens being used for video games on occasion.
The old jumbotrons, huh?
Yeah, the jumbotrons. There you go. Yeah. Let me see if I can find
that. That would be interesting. Not one that we could probably take advantage of in any meaningful, quick way. Zach, you got any places with monitors hanging around that we could just slap a PS4 on and go to town?
You know, sometimes malls have a random assortment of monitors just floating there that you could utilize.
A lot of bar restaurants.
A lot of bar restaurants, exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes,
I think there's some opportunity there.
The headline says employees play Mario Kart on baseball jumbotron. It's in the Kansas City Royal Stadium.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, there's a video and everything.
Yeah, instead of like those,
oh my God,
those stupid poker and trivia games, just unplug that monitor. Throw my PS4 on there. I'll wait for my wings to be ready.
Exactly.
Yeah, go to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Can you get this video on your? Hang on, let me see if I can send you the link here real quick. I want you to see if I can figure out how to get off of stupid Skype with its huge.
I'm not going to be able to grab it out of Skype. That's all right.
All right, never mind. But yeah.
I'm not going to be able to grab it out of Skype because then your cameras will go off center.
You could drop it in the Google.
I was going to try to send you the
link. Throw the link in the document.
That's what. Oh, okay, in the document.
Yeah, in the show notes.
There is a restaurant. Restaurants have a lot of like those mini like monitors that they place down for you to pay and stuff. You could use one of those.
Oh yeah.
Like that.
Oh yeah. Good call. All right, let's see if we can take a peek at this here.
That's fantastic.
And finally, have you ever been caught playing video games at work? Well, we found some guilty folks today in the Most Sports Moment. Today in Kansas City, a news helicopter was getting aerial shots of the city when the pilot spotted the Kansas City Royals employees participating in a Mario Kart tournament on the Jumbotron.
The Royals used the big screen for the Mario Kart as part of an internal campaign to get employees to support Royals.
Hey, when I play Mario Kart, I play as Mario.
That's really cool.
You have something against Mario, Jason?
Yeah, because he's not Luigi.
In case you couldn't see the logo during the voiceover that was going on there, credit to WZDX News for the report there. That's awesome, too, because they kind of got, and you guys couldn't hear, we were listening to the voiceover on the reporter there. You two couldn't hear it. But they got busted. Like, it was, a flyby that caught that on the monitor, not somebody in the stadium, like, recording what they were doing. It was a shot outside the stadium, like, looking in at, hey, there's some dudes playing Mario Kart in there. That's awesome.
Nice.
They win. Nice. They win. All right, let's slide over and get started with the Weekly Bombs. Zach, it's been a while, brother. We'll let you go first.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to Echo Arena. It's a free-to-play game, which if you guys remember my history of giving dub bombs and stuff, I don't always do free-to-play games, but in this case, I'm going to. And Echo Arena is a VR game. It's kind of, think Ender's Game, but a video game. It's fantastic. It plays really, really well. The mechanics are just super fun to fly around in zero G with, throw the disc and try and make goals and do passes and whatnot. Very competitive, although the only downside to it is if you don't have a large play space, you're not going to have as good of a time because you might hit your wall, you might break your hands. I've almost done, a lot of bad things when I was in Echo VR. I smacked my computer once, I've smacked my mic, I've smacked my wall. My old place, I smacked the door like 3 or 4 times and almost broke my hand. So definitely want to have a good play space for it. But if you do, like I have a decent one now, it's very, very fun and enjoyable.
Awesome. I'm going to keep you in small frame. I think your Skype connection's a little slow right now, so you're pixelating. So I'm going to keep you in small frame for just a second here. Jason, go ahead.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to Conqueror's Blade, which I've gotten back into recently. And I was totally going to do this dub bomb, even though before we had a giveaway on the site. And go ahead and do that. Get your Paladin armor from mmobomb.com. But yeah, gotten back into it after several months off, and they've done a pretty good job improving it. First of all, the inventory is more easily sortable, so that's good. That's what I was always complaining about before. But they've also added a good number of extra like weekly quests and seasonal quests and so on.
All right. I'm going to give an A-bomb to me not getting my druid anytime soon in Neverwinter. Put up an interview yesterday with the team over at Perfect World Cryptic Studios. They want to add a new class, but don't expect it anytime soon. They're kind of prototyping things, but it's not really prioritized in the development cycle with other things. So something they want to do. But more importantly, late-breaking news. I'm going to give a dub-bomb to the most awesome closed beta reward ever. Just found out. Jason, I think you're muted now. So Phantasy Star Online 2, obviously coming west. Very exciting on the Xbox One. We're going to have a closed beta shortly here, soon. TM, they tweeted yesterday. It's coming soon, at least telling us the dates of when it is. There are rewards for playing in that beta. And the level 3 reward is a mag shaped like a fucking Dreamcast. That is amazing. That is amazing. I have so many memories of playing Phantasy Star Online on the original Dreamcast. That is just fantastic. I can't wait.
I heard on Twitter that there is, but I'm not sure if it's true or not. Is there any news of it coming to PC as well for the West?
It is going to come to PC later in 2020. So it's going to release right now. And they confirmed via Twitter that they are still on track for this. A spring release on the Xbox One, and then a Windows 10 release later in 2020.
Oh, okay. All right.
So dub-bomb to that mag. I don't care what the hell I have to do during closed beta. I will be getting level 3 rewards. From the viewers, RS Jabber says, "Da-bomb to Q and Jason for dropping those sad but true knowledge bombs. Expect nothing. Why are we still hyped? Just to suffer." Oh, Jason, you're spreading your old man sadness. Jason, do you have a mic again? Are you able to take the next one?
Well, it's just said that my
there you go. Go ahead.
Well, it said that this is no longer supported by or not working, so I'm going to have to go on my headset for
That's all right. We're almost done.
Hopefully it'll work out. Yummy Kami says, "Zach, did you finally acquire some legs? I recently saw some legs at some crazy person's house. Should I ask him if he sells? Those are female, though."
Any legs will be fine.
Zach's fine with any legs. Go ahead, Zach.
Jay Perkins says, "That said, I give a dub-bomb to all the indie devs who make inexpensive games that will run on a potato-powered toaster. They've kept me playing since my gaming PC crapped the bed. Special mentions go to Dan Fornace of Rivals of Aether and Team Cherry with Hollow Knight. Oh, and if you pick my comment to read on the show, make sure to give it to a person who has the hardest time pronouncing things. Signed, Pierre Round." Right? Pierre Round. I did it again. The meme. It returns. Oh my. It returns the meme.
Oh my god. It's been like a year and a half.
And it's off the. I just fell off. It's done.
It's been like a year and a half, and he still did it.
You know, the longest for the first time that I screwed it up. After that point, I got it every time, and then it's been away too long, and it's got me.
Pi R round. What? You could not have had better timing with that.
It's because he knew, because we kept hyping that Zach was going to be back.
Oh my god, that's priceless. Misfit Rain. I just spit all over my monitor. Misfit Rain, to bomb to Rift. The new battle pass comes out Thursday. How many people did I just piss off? Misfit, that's mean. That's mean. Stop that. Question of the week last week. Give us your 2020 predictions. Jay Perkins also chimes in here. Pyar round. Says, I haven't commented in a long time, but I've still been tuning in here and there. Thank you. Thank you. Jason, your mic is boo-booing. I think my major prediction for 2020 is that I won't be able to play most of the new free-to-play game releases this year because I don't have a gaming PC anymore, and I haven't had a current console since the Wii. My little laptop just can't keep up with the free-to-play market for the most part. Pi, you got to fix that. You got to fix that. Go ahead, Zach.
Johnny Tsunami says, insert random Daybreak controversy here.
That's a pretty safe prediction, I think. I think could be a pretty safe prediction that something will go on there. Jason, go ahead.
Misfit Rain says, question of the week, I predict I'll be spending a lot of time in New World. What else matters? Side note, Mike, make sure you wrap your keyboard. Those keys will stick together. Keyboard porn protection.
That's a hashtag.
Do I want to know the context of that?
Yeah, you got to watch last week's show when apparently Jason views porn for hours, and this was just flabbergasting to me. Why spend hours doing it? Our question of the week.
Gotta make it last.
Oh my God. Question of the week this week. Give us your review of Legends of Runeterra. I'm asking because open beta will go live Friday. The show will go Friday, live Friday as well. So you'll have 4 or 5 days to get your comments in on YouTube or on mmobomb.com. Give us your mini review of Legends of Runeterra and let us know what you think. While you're there, don't forget to leave us your weekly bombs. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of free-to-play gaming or in life in general, or your questions for the panel. Until next time, Zach, where can everybody find you, sir?
Everyone find me on Twitter at Zach Sharps.
Jason.
On Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there on Twitter at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so you can get tweets about all the latest articles, first look videos, giveaways, free-to-play casts, free-to-play weekly, and so much more. My thanks to Mr. Zach Sharps. It's great to have you back, sir. We'll be seeing a lot more of you. Stay safe. See you on the servers.